Hello, Facebook Live and YouTube streaming. You are here at Wine Cellars Wine Weekend, and we are continuing our virtual tasting series. I am Lee Schlesinger, and I am Vice President of Portfolio Management and Education at Wine Cellars. And it's been my honor and pleasure to be with you guys twice a week, Wine Cellars Wine Wednesdays, and today's Wine Cellars Wine Weekend. This weekend, we're going to take a trip to Italy. But before we get to Italy, I want to kind of give a little background for what these wines are and what wine represents to me kind of on a larger scale. And then we'll pull in our friends, the Botter, Luca Botter and Matteo Gentillini, who works for Luca as well. I always say that you get your... if I can find a wine that has three things, it's not faulty. Nobody wants to drink faulty wine. There is faulty wine out there, less and less, but there is faulty wine that tastes like what it's supposed to taste like. If it's a Cabernet Sauvignon, does it taste like Cabernet Sauvignon, or does it not seem right? Does it not have hallmark traits, markers that I'm looking for? And then the third thing that I'm looking for is some sort of identity, the place where it comes from. It needs to tell me a little bit more of a story. So if it's Cabernet Sauvignon, is it from Bordeaux, which might be a cooler climate than, say, maybe Napa Valley or California in general? Does it have that sense of place to it? And those three things combined give me quality wine. The second thing that I say about wine in general is that you get your best bang for your buck around the $8 to $15 price point. Above $15, every incremental dollar that you spend, you'll get a little less wine quality, those three things that I mentioned at the beginning, than you did in that $8 to $15 sweet spot. Anything under $8, you're probably not getting something of very good quality. You have overhead costs, glass costs, dry goods, shipping, all that kind of stuff, taxes. So that's chewed up that way. So that $8 to $15 price point is where you kind of get your best bang for your buck. We're going to taste some wines today from Italy that are around $8 on the lower part of that price point that give me all three of those things. So I think we're talking about super value wines. And we're going to taste a Pinot Grigio that tastes like the Veneto. We're going to taste Montepuciano that tastes like Abruzzo. And we're going to taste some Moscato that is Mediterranean influenced, and all at $8. So I want to bring in the people behind the brand La Fiera. And it is Luca Botter, whose family has, for generations, has owned the Botter company. And our friend Matteo Gentillini, our U.S. export manager. So without further ado, I want to welcome both Luca and Matteo.
Hello. Hello.
Welcome.
Hello to everybody. Hello to everybody.
How are you doing in Italy?
Oh, very well. I can show you. I mean, as you know, we're based in Venice, and that's where all the story started with my grandfather. I can show you the panorama tonight in Venice, and that's where my grandfather started 90 years ago, the business. Trading wine into the city with the boats, wines mainly from the regions like the Pinot Grigio that you're tasting tonight, like the Moscato that you're tasting tonight, and bringing the wine into the trattorias and into the bars. That's how he started the business. And then little by little, he bought his, the first vineyards. He set up the little winery, and when the children joined the business, they started, selling outside Venice and into other regions in Italy, and then in the 50s and the 60s outside the Italian boundaries, into the German market, into Switzerland, and today we're exporting in over 60 countries around the world.
Well, we're glad to have you guys on board. We've been working together for 10, 12 years at least now, huh?
Yeah, over 10 years, I think. Yeah,
and you bring us great wine from all over the place, and we have a few different brands. Boy, those birds are loud tonight, huh?
Yeah, because actually, one of the things that the family developed with relations with growers and wineries in different regions, and outside Veneto, where we're based, and actually with Italian wines becoming more and more popular, we've been asked to interact with wines coming from the south, coming from central part of Italy, from Abruzzo, from Puglia, from Sicily, and actually we built up a network of growers that are working with us, working with our analogs, where they participate during harvest, and they make wines under our specs. Then we bring them all over up in Veneto, where we do the fining and the final bottling before shipping around the world.
Yeah, it's a great story that's almost 100 years old now, with you being the third generation.
Yeah, he's 90 years old actually, and we're close to the big birthday. Hopefully, we will all be here celebrating it.
That would be great. I look forward to it. Here we've got some images. It was a great shot of looking out at Venice. I mean, I'd like to have that view while I drink these wines. It'll make me feel molto Italiano.
Yeah.
We've got a few images. Matteo was kind enough to send over a little bit of a presentation. Do we want to take a look at some of the images and see some of your relatives and look at some of that history there?
Yeah, why not?
All right, let's pop it into the screen here and take a look at some of these images and see if we can transport ourselves there a little closer. So there's basically you looking out your window, huh?
Yeah, kind of.
Kind of.
Kind of.
So almost a century of history there. That's
my grandfather. Yes, yeah. The first labels that were made, with Bardolino in those days. Some of the iconic Italian wine, Bardolino, Valpolicella, Soave. That was the market wanted. That what you could find around the world in the trattoria, in the Italian restaurants. Frascati, those wines were the iconic Italian wine. Chianti, the flask, all the kind of things.
Yeah, we're there we go. Another great shot. Where is he now? He's in the Alps and
the Dolomites. We're only an hour and a half from the Dolomites. Actually, this morning I was up, climbing. I came back in the afternoon. It's only an hour and a half driving from Venice. So I mean, it's an amazing regions because we got everything. The sea, the mountains, the Dolomites. You can be up in skiing and
the lake
2,000 meters and be down in the afternoon sailing in the Adriatic.
Yeah, and Matteo, where are you right now? You said you were at the lake when we were doing a virtual tasting last night.
Yeah, I'm still here at the lake because it's one of the best places in the world where you can learn how to windsurf.
And you're on Lake Garda?
Yes, correct. So Luca mentioned the Dolomites. Since I'm the most northern part of the lake, I can see the Dolomites out from my window.
Yeah, and what I learned about Lake Garda, and you said windsurfing, is that there's actually winds that come down the mountain range and kind of expand through the expanse of the lake. So the lake kind of channels all that stuff. So it must be great for sailboating. Yeah,
it's amazing. It's something that is very unique.
All right, I'm looking forward to the visit already for our 100-year birthday.
Yeah.
Couple more images. So let's talk about a little bit about La Fiera and kind of the idea behind. We talked about the regions, a little bit about the idea behind the brand and maybe our working together and how we developed our business together. Because now we sell quite a bit of the La Fiera wines, and the La Fiera, I think 60,000+ cases a year. So hopefully people can find them and they're drinking them with us today. But there's a reason why, beyond the quality and the price, there's other reasons why these things are the way they are. So let's talk about maybe the quality that you guys go through and how you're able to deliver that value to us.
Yeah, Matteo.
Well, Yeah, so the name La Fiera, translated to English, means the fair, which is something that has been around in Italy during the during the 50s and the 60s, and we wanted to bring back to the label of this product. So the image that you see is the horse that you can find in the fair, and where all the kids jump on and have fun. So it's like because we want to bring the tradition back to our products. Because this is also what the customer, especially from the new world, is expecting from a country of history and tradition such as Italy. So this is the idea behind brand, and also we wanted to target like the entry level style of wine, but delivering the highest quality for the money. So one of the main pillar of Botter is actually the efficiency. So everything we do, all the operation, we try to maximize that efficiency. So in the presentation that you just showed, Lee, there were also like our headquarter with our equipment, that is kind of the most modern you can find in the winemaking industry. Um, I'm just speaking about this kind of wine. All these wine are kind of bottle on demand, and this is very important because some other producers that are not as efficient as us, what they do is like they bottle the wine, put in their warehouse, wait for the order coming from the U.S. importer, and then they ship it. But how we work is kind of different. We keep it in the tank, fresh product. We receive the order from you, wine seller guys. We bottle it and we ship it straight away. So the final result, the bottom line is that the product that will reach the American shelf is fresher compared to most of our competitors. And also because it's a wine that is going to be good, especially in the first year after the bottling. The freshness of the product is important. It's not something that is meant to be aged, something that is easy to drink and has to be fresh.
Yeah, it's the wines are, and then also you put it under Stelvin, which preserves the absolute freshness there too, which helps, I think, as well on the quality. You're making me thirsty. Let's go. Can we go ahead and taste the
Yeah,
Pinot Grigio?
yeah, definitely. My glass is ready right
Right.
here.
I'll pull up the. Let's show everybody what the label looks like again.
Yeah. So,
Here, I'll get you into the maximum screen here so we can see it. There we go. La Fiera Pinot Grigio.
this is also like a restyled label. We changed it like a year and a half ago to make it
Yeah.
more keeping the tradition, but make it more good looking at the same time with
Yeah.
a more minimal style in terms of design. So, Luca, may I ask you, do you want to talk a
Yeah.
little bit of the success of Pinot Grigio because it was something outstanding? And
Yeah, I mean, I believe that everybody knows nowadays Pinot Grigio in the U.S. market. I mean, the Pinot Grigio has been probably the most successful varietals from Italy in the last 20 years, I would say. Unfortunately, actually, we've not been able to, to protect the appellations and the varietals. And today, there is Pinot Grigio coming and planted all over the globe, from New Zealand to South Africa to Argentina, Romania, Germany, Eastern Europe's. But I think, probably the most successful Pinot Grigio has always been the Italian one. Maybe also the style. I think it's the Italian is less complex, easy to drink, fresh, fruity, with the right acidity, the right zipness. I think it makes you find the difference when you taste Pinot Grigio from Italy and compared to other countries in the world. Um, Possibly today is only overshadowed by Prosecco, but until now is Pinot Grigio probably is the pillars of Italian white wine export-wise.
Yeah, I showed a map of the Veneto up there, and so northeastern Italy, and the Veneto specifically, really well known for Pinot Grigio. And I don't think there's not a lot of restaurants in the U.S. that won't have Pinot Grigio from the Veneto by the glass.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And then actually, a few years ago, the Veneto appellation that was an IGT, so Identificazione Geografica Tipica, became DOC, protected denominations. And today the appellation, the correct appellation is Pinot Grigio DOC delle Venezie, DOC delle Venezie. It's and you can see the banderole around the neck. That is the banderole that certifies the DOC feature, and that is released by the consortium of the DOC Venezia. That is also a sign of integrity, quality, number, certificates, and everything else.
And when did that happen? IGT to DOC?
I think it's if I'm not wrong, I think it came on board something like 3 years ago. 3 years ago, the DOC delle Venezie.
Did that happen at the same time when we upgraded the Prosecco as well?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
All right. Well, some tasting notes for the particular wine here, and maybe some food pairings as well. We talked about its freshness, its lightness, its vibrancy.
The main characteristic for me is always the light factor. So there are a lot of consumers and they're looking for light wine, especially light white wine. And this is why Pinot Grigio was so successful. It was the perfect target for that category. So when a lot of consumers were looking for something light to drink with the food, because even the food was light, and then Pinot Grigio was always a very good choice. And in terms of fruitiness, we have all the green notes of the green fruit, like apple, pear. So it's not like we don't have tropical fruit, we don't have stone fruit. It's more something that is very citrusy as well.
Yeah, I get maybe just a touch of floral characteristic and maybe the slightest hint of minerality as well as those fruit notes. And I think that's pretty typical for the varietal, especially from.
And as we mentioned before, the Dolomites are actually one of the reasons you get those minerality, because we are not that far from the Dolomites where we source the grapes. And the geographical history of the area is actually the Italian peninsula crashing against the European continent, and they created the Alps. So the soil that we can find, the closer we go to the Alps, the more mineral it is, the more rocky soil.
Yeah, they and you look, so you have alluvial soils. You actually have quite a bit of different soil types. I think you've got everything from
we have a lot.
Gravel to marl, which is like clay and limestone. So you can find some limestone, you can find gravel, you can find all sorts of alluvial soils. So really kind of rich. And you think of Italian wines in this region, and there's so many great Italian wines. Luca mentioned a few of them, but such diversity, as well as we think of the Veneto and we think of maybe Pinot Grigio first. And then if you realize Prosecco comes from the same region,
Right.
But I mean, so many different types of wine.
And when we say delle Venezie, it's not actually only Veneto. Delle Venezie appellation includes 3 regions. It's Veneto, Friuli Venezia Giulia, and Trentino Alto Adige. So all the 3 regions that are included in the northern east part of Italy are delle Venezie.
Yeah, let's pop that back in real quick and take a quick peek. So you're talking about the Veneto, Friuli.
And on the left of Veneto, the north, yes. And this is the Trentino Alto Adige.
Yeah, and so you're talking about the Alps being here
Correct.
along that northern border. Here you're actually bordered with what, Slovenia?
Slovenia, yeah. And
then
then on the south, you have the Adriatic coast.
Yeah, the Adriatic coastline here.
Yeah, so the area benefits from both sides, from the Dolomites on the north and from the Adriatic Sea on the south. So that's why the grape is also able to retain that high amount of acidity into the wine.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect aperitif type of wine. And I think that's part of the reason why it's popular on wine lists. Is it's great to have before a meal and with a meal, or even just by itself, because of its freshness and crispness and acidity, makes you hungry. It's an aperitif. Yeah.
And also because the calorie content is actually lower than many other wines, and people are getting more and more careful about what they drink, what they eat, and how many calories they take during a day. So that's why white wine are growing, light white wine even more.
Yeah, and we're talking about a wine that's only 12%. We think about health. We also must think about alcohol. We're here at 12%, where a lot of white wines are pushing towards 14 sometimes.
Yeah,
so a little less alcohol.
But we didn't want to compromise with the fruitiness, so we try also to preserve it. So after we pick up the grapes, we make a cold maceration of the grape. Make a cold fermentation of the grape. We remove the skin immediately because we don't want to get the pulp of the grapes getting too much in touch with the skin, because otherwise they will develop also kind of a pink color. Because the Pinot Grigio grape has actually a pink color, so we remove immediately the skin and we just keep the juice, and then we make a cold fermentation.
Yeah, you can find Pinot Grigio out there that has skin contact and it looks copper colored, almost pink, almost like rosé. So we have one here. We won't say the brand name, but we enjoy one of them particularly. Let's say hi to some friends. Luca, we got some friends here for us that want to say hi. First, I want to say hi to some friends in North Carolina, Simply Divine Oil and Wine. When you guys come over, you'll have to go see them. Huge wine cellar supporters. In there, they say, "Nice to meet you, Luca and Matteo. Excited for the stream today and try some delicious wine." So hopefully they're enjoying the Pinot Grigio.
Thank you, Divine Wine. Yeah.
And our buddy Kevin wants to give a shout out. Kevin Owens also from North Carolina. Obviously, it's a wine cellars employee. Works with Simply Divine, but he's on the call today. We've got some other wine cellars people. I think one of our favorite wine cellars people.
Yeah.
Valerie says hi. We've got some wine
Hi,
cellars.
Valerie.
We got some wine cellars related people here. We got Preston saying hi from New Orleans, probably. And Val's very concerned. She's very health conscious, so low calorie is very important. Val, always with the health stuff. So impressed with the Pinot Grigio. Yeah, and again, I can't help but reiterate the fact that these wines are all sub $10.
Yeah, extremely good value for money.
And as you know, Lee, we always get a lot of very important award from the wine magazine, especially in the best value category. This is where La Fiera is killing.
Yeah, it's a best buy, best value kind of no brainer for me. And a lot of inexpensive Pinot Grigio is not my favorite. Sometimes it doesn't have enough fruit. It doesn't have enough body. Maybe the acidity is a little too high, and there's very little complexity to it. Kind of what I would call lemony water. But we just talked about floral notes and some minerality as well as those fruit profiles, and we're talking about balance. These are conversations we don't normally have with wines of $8 to $9 to $10 kind of price points. So where do we want to go next? What would we like to taste? We want to taste the Moscato, or do we want to taste the Montepulciano next?
I would go with the Moscato, honestly, because it's a sweet wine, but it's not that sweet that I would put it at your hand. Something like lightly sweet.
Okay, so let's talk about the Moscato and how we ended up in Sicily with it, perhaps. You want to give us a little background? I'll pull up the map and show everybody. Most people know where Sicily is. It's the bottom of the boot, right?
Yes, correct. So one of the most important thing about butter is like we are currently sourcing grapes from 10 different regions. So in gray, you can find the most important region for our company. And then you have in green, like what we call secondary sourcing region, but probably that's not really correct because we are growing even in those regions. Like I can say like Campania, but we are kind of launching a new brand with you one seller. Tuscany, we have very good Chianti and some other super Tuscan / super Chianti product in the portfolio. Market, I can see is in gray, but we are actually starting to source some grapes from there as well. So we are always developing our network, our relationship, and our portfolio. But in Sicily, we are already great because we are already sourcing a lot of grapes from there. Nero d'Avola and also Caricante. And then we have Moscato. Moscato, but we didn't want to make it like fully sweet. It's kind of a partially sweet, so you are not gonna have that viscosity. It's kind of a clean wine, something that is very easy to drink. And we were talking about fruit notes. Probably here you're gonna have an explosion of fruitiness inside. You will have a lot of peach, a lot of apricot, a lot of tropical notes. So let's open it and taste it.
Yeah, let everybody take a look at his glass and see what happens in his glass there. Can we see that?
Yeah.
So
Slightly
I think,
sparkling. I mean,
yeah, it's a little what would you call it? Less than frizzante?
yeah, it's a bit, it's fizzy.
Fizzy. Is that the Italian term, Luca?
No, we say frizzante, but it's frizzantino. We can say.
I'd say gently sparkling here, and I think what that adds is some texture to the wine, and actually CO2. A little bit of that dissolved CO2 actually will dry out the wine, so it creates a little more balance between the sugar for me, in terms of perceived sweetness.
Yeah, to be very technical, we have half of a bar, 0.5 bar of pressure inside. So it's very, very lightly sparkling.
Yeah.
And this is why we stop the fermentation. So that's how we keep the residual sugar. And we don't develop a fully alcoholic wine. So even in terms of alcohol content, here we have 8% of alcohol. I think it should be also stated in the back label. The back label says 10.5, but usually it's a little bit less than that.
Okay. And people think Moscato. Obviously, we think sweeter wines, which kind of fits that classic profile for consumers here. But it doesn't always have to be sweet. So if you do or don't like sweet wines, Moscato isn't always sweet, or it can be dry. The other thing that I want to touch on, at least with Moscato, is that the grape variety has flavor compounds that make it really floral, fresh, and fruity. And they're called terpenes that are. We'll get for 1 second. They're called terpenes, and they're found in Muscat, the Muscat type of grape, and they're just great when you have it as a sweeter wine, because it really enhances those tropical fruits and those floral notes, and just becomes really, really expressive. So and we're looking for a little balance here, so not too much sugar, a little bit of fizz to bring some freshness to it, and you end up with something that's just really vibrant and kind of in your face before you even get the glass near it.
Yeah, and some of the balance is also given by the acidity. The acidity is due to the altitude of the vineyards, because here we are not like on the coast or on the plain. We are more in the hilly area. So we have some altitude that can help the white grape variety to express the best quality, the best fruitiness, the best balance.
Yeah, I think most people look at Sicily and they see it's as far south, most equatorial part of Italy, meaning it should be the warmest, but because of Mount Etna and because of the the altitude, we actually grow more white grape varieties, and they produce more white wine on the island than they do red wine.
Yeah, but actually, and you're completely right. The number one grape varietal of Sicily is actually a white grape varietal. It's called Caricante. It's an indigenous grape, but it's the number one by far. And even the number two, I think, is Grillo. And then only on number three you can find a Nero d'Avola. So yeah, sometimes it's just a misconception. The truth is that
when I was a younger guy, I thought, hey, it's far south. It's got to be hot. It's got to be red wine, and especially when you know the wines of Apulia, which is close, and Campania. It's these are really warm regions, but not so much in Sicily. Altitude.
And this is actually the strength and the beauty of Italy, the diversification you can find. We have many different microclimates, and we also have many different cuisine. Even the cuisine, it differs a lot. And the Sicilian cuisine probably needs also a lot of white wine with all the seafood they have over there.
Yeah, for sure. What would you pair with the Moscato?
Well, the Moscato, it would be good also with a lot of rich and heavy texture seafood. Okay, so something that is kind of typical from Sicily. They have a kind of a seafood that is very rich in texture and umami, and so you will have also a richer texture in the Moscato, and the two they will balance.
I think this would be, for me, a no-brainer with maybe like Indian food, where you mimic some of the spice and floral notes.
Yeah, because it's the same like with Riesling. I mean, as a standard wine, it's not too different than a Riesling, and Riesling is very successful with the spicy Asian food. So I think that also the Sicilian Moscato can have a shot.
Yeah, I think it could also pair, if you got the right cheeses. I think it could pair with some nice cheese. And maybe a warm summer afternoon like we have here in Chicago. We've got a beautiful 65-degree day. And it might be patio or porch wine. We call it a porch pounder here. Hey, Luca, you got any stories for Moscato?
I mean, Moscato, it's also, a great wine for, in a way, for beginners as well. I mean, it's not necessarily a wine for, great connoisseurs of wine and younger approaching the wine world. I mean, probably the sweeter and the fizzy makes it easier to drink, and especially on a nice summer day. So it makes it good for aperitifs, for all day drinking. So that's certainly something that Moscato has always been related to the celebration, Christmas and festival with the spumante. Remember that Asti Spumante is made out of Moscato grape. So but today Moscato is not really, especially in a version like ours that is less sweet and with just a bit of fizz. It's an all-day drinker.
Lee, we lost you. Okay, you're back.
I pop in and out occasionally.
Okay, it happens. It's fine.
Lots of magical things happen behind the green curtain.
Yeah, we didn't mention it, but of course, because probably it was too easy to mention, Moscato pairs very well with dessert.
Like peaches. I mean, you could mimic those flavors, no doubt. Kevin had a. Well, let's see. Valerie first says Valerie likes
beach wine. Yeah.
Beach wine is always a good idea.
Mm-hmm. Maybe even throw a couple ice cubes in a plastic glass.
Or there are a lot of Sicilian pastry in the United States. So what I highly suggest you go to our fellow countrymen and buy some Sicilian dessert and pair it with
some cannoli.
Yes.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking. A little cannoli. We also have Kevin with Kevin saying a little salty cured fish roe on seafood pasta.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would be nice.
If you can find
That's a good
Botarga in the
combination.
United States,
Botarga.
Yeah, I think you can find it everywhere now.
that would match very good because Botarga has a very good saltiness inside.
Yeah, salinity for sure against the
Yeah.
sweetness. Shall we taste our solo red wine next and go to Abruzzo for some Montepulciano?
Yes, it would be a honor.
Can you
Monte-
can you say Montepulciano d'Abruzzo as if you're like an Italian? Because it's so romantic, right?
Yeah, Montepulciano d'Abruzzo. It's not easy, I know,
Yeah.
but you can try.
If you put the right accents on the right syllables, it's going to sound perfect Italian.
No, but I want to hear from you, Lynn, right now.
Montepulciano d'Abruzzo.
Yeah, you're good. You're very good. I give you a B.
A B.
Yeah, you need to practice a little bit, but you're gonna get to the A. Don't worry.
All right, I'll put that on my wall of awards there.
So Montepulciano is the name of the grape varietal. Please be careful, that is completely different than Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, because Vino Nobile di Montepulciano is actually a village in Tuscany. Here, Montepulciano is the name of the grape.
Yeah.
And
one thing, which is the area or the town of Montepulciano, and you make wine and it has the name Montepulciano, Rosso de Montepulciano. And you have Montepulciano, a grape variety from Abruzzo. So very confusing to people. And they're actually not very far apart, right?
Not in terms of latitude. One is in the east coast of Italy, and the other one is in the west coast of Italy. And because of two different seas, also the climate and especially the soil is completely different.
Yeah, and the grape varieties are different, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. Because, well, in Montepulciano in Tuscany, you have Sangiovese, which is the same grape varietal of Chianti, Brunello di Montalcino. And yeah.
Abruzzo
so
here.
Correct.
And then the town is on the other side. Is it? It's in Tuscany here?
Yes. Yeah, a little more inland, closer to the coast, like in the middle south. Yeah, right there. Yeah. Over there is Montepulciano, Vino Nobile di Montepulciano.
All right, let's forget about that entirely. Let's not confuse.
Go back to Abruzzo. Go back to Abruzzo. So Montepulciano d'Abruzzo is an entry-level style of wine, but as one of the characteristics that is very important, is one of the red grape variety with the highest acidity. And because as the highest is one of the red grape variety with the highest acidity, it makes it also very food friendly. So it's very good to pair the Montepulciano d'Abruzzo with food, especially with the food that are also high in acidity.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I do when I go to Italian restaurants that may not have the best wine list, I'm looking for a wine that I think I would like, and maybe it's very basic wines. There's a simple Chianti, some Montepulciano, maybe a couple other wines to choose from. Not a very high-end wine list. I'll tend to say I'll buy the Montepulciano because I think that you can get very good quality at not very expensive prices, and it pairs perfect.
It's a very good glass of wine. I mean, if you're having a pizza or a pasta, it's I wouldn't say it's simple, but it's really something that you can drink easily. It's not complex, and still has this, the body, the color, the fruit.
Actually, I was kind of I kept in my mind something that Luca's uncle told me a few weeks ago. He told me, I always loved Montepulciano because it's the wine that gave me the best quality for the price. And if this statement is coming from Luca's uncle that has been in the wine business for how many years, Luca? 60
years.
Yeah. So for me, it's like something that is coming from a super expert.
Yeah, I totally agree. And so my litmus test on this, beyond the Italian restaurant story, is that with if I was served a wine at a wedding, and you know weddings are banquets, and banquet wine tends not to be very good. What's my litmus test for the quality of the wine that well, if I was served this at a wedding, would I finish the glass? Would I have another glass? And the third thing, how good that wine might be, is how big my hangover might be the next day. And this is a hangover wine for me. I'd probably consume a fair share on the Montepulciano.
Yeah, it's true. But as I said, there's also the acidity part of that.
Yes. So let's talk about we talked structurally that it's got good acidity. It doesn't have a lot of tannin, so I actually chilled this down a little bit. So it's like cellar temperature, which I think is fun for the time. Maybe the flavor profile too.
Yeah, the perfect temperature for this one is probably like in the mid-70s Fahrenheit. So I usually like to talk about the ice bucket rule, that you need an ice bucket, half water, half ice, find the perfect temperature. And for this kind of wine, you need 5 minutes in the ice bucket. In 5 minutes, you're going to chill down the temperature just a little bit to make it fresh and more enjoyable to drink. And
I chilled out almost all my red wine, and depending on the style, how much of a chill I give it. So this one, I think, could take a little bit of a chill.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a light red wine. It's not as light as Pinot Noir or Barbera. It has a little bit more body in it, so more texture.
For me, again, we were talking about the sense of place, and there is no doubt in my mind that where this wine is from, very Italian. I get this kind of like leathery, dusty cherry.
Yeah.
This definite Italian kind of like earthiness to it that says this wine is from Italy, and I'm screaming at you, Montepulciano d'Abruzzo.
And yes, you're right. And when I go around the country with you guys presenting La Fiera brand, I always like to tell people the Montepuciano d'Abruzzo is the perfect wine for pizzeria. If you are able to place it by the glass in pizzeria, this is going to be your number one wine in that account, in that restaurant, because the acidity of the wine matches the acidity in the tomato sauce. So just try, for the people that are at home watching that, try the Montepuciano d'Abruzzo with a pizza. It's going to be the perfect match. And on
pizza,
side,
pastas, pizza, anything with the tomato sauce. I'm sorry, Matteo?
Everything that has tomato sauce, basically. It's pasta, and in Italy we use the tomato sauce a lot. In a lot of our food, our cuisine. Bruschetta, that in Italian should be spelled bruschetta.
That's a whole other conversation, my friend.
Yeah.
We're never going to correct the American interpretation.
But at least we tried.
Yeah, you can't hurt the trouble. And so some tomato sauces for sure, but super versatile. I think you could have this with anything off the barbecue too, because it has this kind of like leathery, earthy note to it that might roll right into some grilled meat. Burger.
I was actually reading a few days ago about burger and wine pairing. I remember that actually Montepulciano d'Abruzzo was one of the they pick, especially with turkey burger. Like what? Now there are a lot of white meat burger options, and they were saying that Montepulciano d'Abruzzo can be paired very well with that.
Yeah, I think so for sure. We're nearing our 45-minute mark. We tasted 3 fantastic wines that cost you less than $10. I want to give you guys the opportunity to maybe fill in some blanks that we might have missed. Did we miss anything we want to talk about? We've got the owner of the company with us, Luca, that might want to say something, or maybe you just want to talk to some people out in the internet land. We've got some other people joining us from Wine Cellar. So it's like a wine cellar sales meeting going on right now.
Oh, Diana. Okay.
Did we miss anything?
We hope to to be tasting wine soon all together. That's for sure what we hope is going to happen very soon. Meanwhile, we've been drinking a lot of wines at home. We've been experimenting all our kitchens and culinary ability and skills. And I think these wines are, working very well and perfectly every day. Whenever you feel to have a glass of wine, a Pinot Grigio or a Montepulciano, they are, a great companion, if you're, even before starting cooking at home
Sure.
nowadays.
Yeah, I think so. And now that we're able to, depending on where you are, we can gather in groups of 10 or maybe more, depending on where you live. Perfect party wines too. Impress your friends and save some money at the same time, right?
Yeah, start the barbecues then, and get the Montepulciano out there with the with the ribs and the sausages.
Yeah, I've got my smoker going today, and I've got some pork butt shoulder in there, and I'm gonna make some pulled pork, and this is a no-brainer with that.
Yeah.
Send us pictures, please.
Send you pictures, guys. Hey, it was really fun seeing you guys. Thanks for spending some time, 45 minutes or so, with us on your Saturday night. We really appreciate the time, and we really appreciate all the hard work that you guys do in order to bring us such great value. You guys mentioned you're a lean team, and you're a lean team when you're talking to the owner and one other guy that's responsible for 60, 70,000 cases in the U.S. and a lot more globally. So again, great to see you guys. We look forward to when we can actually get together and raise a glass in person. But in the meantime, all we can really do is enjoy.
Chin chin.
Ching ching. And thanks everybody. Thanks everybody out there.
Thank you, Lee, and thanks everybody at Wine Cellar that are making, spreading the wine all over the U.S.
And you just thanked half the Wine Cellars team here today, so that's great to see them on board and wanting to say hi to you. We'll be back on this coming Wednesday on the 17th of June, coming live. We're going to go to Argentina for our next trip, and we'll be we'll be with another owner. We'll be with Julia Zuccardi for tasting some of their Reserva wine. So Santa Julia Reserva coming up at 7 p.m. Eastern. It's my plug. I'm a sales guy, so I got to get my plug in. So well, hopefully we'll see you guys for Wine Cellars Wine Wednesday. But today it was great. Again, it's great seeing you guys. Ching ching.
Ciao, ciao. Have a nice weekend to everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Goodbye to all the Wine Cellars people.
Ciao.
Ciao. Be safe.
Drink our wine tonight. Ciao.
Many bottles.
We've got 3 of them open, so it's going to happen.
Ciao.